Hello everyone, this is Chris Jamel at Exciton Interactive, and in this video we will pick up where we left off with dealing with the radio group and radio buttons. And by the time that we are done with this video, we will have actually, we'll have a radio group that behaves the way that we expect it to. So if you click on the whichever radio button, it'll update the value for the radio group itself. And clicking on another button, radio group button, then we'll deselect any others that were selected and update the value so it's behaving exactly the way that we would expect it to behave. Alright, so let's go ahead and get started here. So the first thing that we're going to do is close stuff that we don't need open. And, we're going to be creating the radio buttons in this video. So you might think, oh, let's start by creating the template. But no, we are going to make a few changes that we need real quick. And that is going to be from the XE form control. So like I said previously that we're going to be creating the radio buttons ourselves, so we need to, getting ahead of myself, the correction that we're making here is that in the form control we have this, abstract tag name, and I think I mentioned in some videos ago that the reason that I have the XE control and the XE form control is related to radio buttons. And what I want to do is to take this tag name, abstract getter tag name, take it out of the form control, and we'll put it in the XE control here. And we're going to put that right there, I guess. All right, so that's a little quick change that we needed to make. Now we are back on track. Let's close those. And now it's time to make the template. So controls mixins.pug. So the radio group, of course, contains the form control, the angular form control that we're going to use to keep track of the value, which button that the user has clicked on. So the radio button themselves are not going to have a form control. So we're going to say mixin radio. And in this case, we're going to make it, sort of create it a bit ourselves, not from, form, control, dash group. So we're basically recreating the sort of, structure of the form control group mix-in up here without notion of the, form group itself. And so we need let's just copy it from up here. So we need the label. And in there we need an input, and type is going to be, of course, radio. So we're good to go for there. Now, of course, it's time to create our radio button component itself. So let's go in here, close that. So inside the radio folder, we're going to choose new file, xe radio.component. Component.pug, and it's going to be include controls.mixins.pug. No, I don't want you doing stuff for me. Plus radio. Save that. Good to go. Add new file. See radio component.scss. At import controls.mixins.scss, and that include form control group. Save that. And of course we need XE radio component.ts, ng-component, great, XE radio. And look at that, I managed to do it without hitting enter. Alright, so we don't This is going to be a little bit different, right? We don't need to inherit from form control, but we do need, and from, what we need is control. Perfect. So XC control, and then so the radio component, let's give it a value, T value, and this is going to extend XC control. Perfect. So to motivate that need for the value there, we are going to make a private value, T value, starts out null. Let's just take care of our squiggly tag name. So return, and then XC radio, and of course this is the reason why we move the tag name to the control and not the from the form control. Now we need the public value. We need to make a snippet for get and set. So return. I wonder if I, just out of curiosity, if I did nothing. Okay. Public get value return start underscore value public set value T value, and this dot value is equal to value. Perfect. Lots of values. So now we have the ability to set or get the value of this radio button. Let's go ahead and close that. And we need to export it, of course. So what do we say? Index, control index, radio, export star from radio / radio component. Done there. Back to the module. Where's our radio group? XC radio component. Like I said, maybe we'll keep 3 per line. We have to declare it. Perfect. Save that. Okay, so now we'll need to modify our control again. So let's go back into this one down here. XC got control. So we need to, like I said, we're going to create the radio buttons ourselves. So we need access to being able to set the label. So we need to remove our read-only and give us a way to do that. We'll do it just down here. Public set label value string. This dot label equals value. Save that. Done. Next thing that we do need to modify, and that's the options form control. Let me all say, get off of there. So this is, of course, what the form group is inheriting from, and we're going to set or create the radio buttons based on the options that are set, and we need to have access to those. So let's go ahead and we'll convert this from private to protected. And we're going to need all of them. So let's save those. And now we return to the radio group. So radio group component .ts. All right. So now we are going to need a few more imports. So let's make some room here. So what we're going to need to import is the component factory, and every time I pick that stupid compiler factory. So component factory resolver, and component ref. Where are you hiding at? Component ref. Perfect. So we've got all those. Let's go ahead and make some import. Right up there. Let's do this. There we go. And import. We're going to import from RxJS. We are going to need from, while we're at it, let's just make import and from RxJS /operators. what we want is map. Save that for now. Okay, so let's come down into the component itself here and make room for some fields here. So private read only. What we want is we'll call it radio factory, and it's going to be component factory. There you are, compiler, I see you. So component factory, and the type of is, oh wait, I think I also forgot to import. I did. Hold your horses, hold your horses. Let's just put it right here. Import, we need to know what we're trying to create, of course. So that's inside XC radio component. There we go. So now we're back down here. Our component factory is going to be a component factory for XC radio components, which of course are a T value. And that's going to start off null. And we're going to need private read only. And what we'll do is we'll call it radios. Maybe I should have called it something else, but who knows. So this will be a component reference. Component ref. And same deal. Let's see, radio component. We need our T value. Angle brackets, and it's going to be a component reference array. So that'll hold all of the radio buttons or the component references that we've created. And now we'll come down here and add a constructor. And I think that I probably made a mistake there in the notes. We'll have to remember to fix. We actually also need the inject decorator in our references. So we'll come down here and we'll say at inject. And the thing that we are injecting is the component resolver factory. Did I not? Component resolver factory. Or component factory resolver. Helps if you component factory resolver. Okay, so that's a private, come on, read only. And you know, it's a mouthful, so we'll just do CFR. And that's the component factory resolver. See if my red squigglies go away. No, because we need to make a call to super. Now they'll go away. So what we need is to set this radio factory, and that's going to be equal to this component factory resolver dot resolve component factory, type being the XC radio component, which is of course T value, and XC radio component. So now we have a factory for creating those components, and that's exactly what we are going to do now. So let's get rid of our console log statement here. All right, so let's create some radio buttons. So we'll use from, so we'll use the from. And this .t options we have access to now. Come down here, pipe, not, there we go, parentheses. I don't need IntelliSense all over the place. So we're going to pipe into, so we have the options. We need to create, or from the options, we need to create radio buttons. So of course we want to use map. So we'll use that. And so what we'll do is we'll call const compref, and that's equal to this radio factory dot create. And what do we need to create? We need to add or include in the creator is the parent injector. So this, our radio container dot parent injector. Now we'll say const instance. So of course this is the component reference. Compref is a component reference. what we want is the component itself, and that's contained in the instance property there. So now we'll say instance dot label, and that's equal to this t options label, and we pass in the option. So instance dot value, and that's equal to this t option value function. Pass in the option. And that's set now. We take our radios, which are the array for component references. We'll push in this component reference, and we'll return the component reference to go merrily down its way in the chain. So actually, for now, all that we need to do, we'll come down here and subscribe. Use the right type of arrow. So we have our radio container. Like I said, we need to insert this radio button, host view from the component reference. So there's one important thing to note here, and I'm going to have to keep track of it in my mind for later on, is we're just straight up doing, after view init, we're doing this insert. You can imagine the case in which, related to a user interaction, you want to change the radio buttons. So we'll have to remember that, obviously we'll see a whole bunch of radio buttons popping up, so we'll have to deal with that maybe later. But for now, we'll just insert them into the DOM there. Let's go ahead and save that. I've done everything enough. No, we have an error. This is the one thing I hate about Firefox, which is trying to deal with this. No component factory. Did you? Did this the last time too. So we're trying to insert the components ourselves. So let's go back. What I skipped was in the module definition. We actually need to have another element here, and I think it's shoot, now I can't think of it as like insert entry components. Okay, entry components, which is an array, and we need to add in here the radio component. Now we'll save it. Back to Firefox, and we can see, of course, that everything's working in the sense that we now have our radio buttons inserted in here with their correct labels. You have to take my word for it, they have the correct value, but we're going to fix this here in a second so that we'll have the behavior. Radio buttons, you're not supposed to be able to click all of them that are in a group. Let's go back to Visual Studio Code here and scroll back down to the notes. Alright, so the next thing to do, we'll just leave that open. We'll come back to it here. We need to adjust the mix ins plug. We need to adjust our radio button here. So what I wanted to do, what I want to do is to be able to change the checked property of this thing. So we'll add a binding to a checked getter on our radio button component. And we also need to know when somebody clicks on one of them. So we'll say T on click, put our parentheses, done with that template. Now let's adjust the radio component itself. Alright, so now let's come up here, a couple of fields, private checked, which is a boolean, starts off false, and we need private underscore on click, and on click takes in a XC radio component, some T value. Perfect, and it does or emits nothing equals null. Perfect. So now, like I said, we need a getter for it, for the checked. So let's do private get t checked, and that's just going to return this dot checked. Perfect. We need the ability for our form group to set the checked value. So we'll say public set checked value is a boolean, and this checked equals value. What else do we need? We need public set on click, which is a value, which is the same deal. XXE radio component t value, and lost track of where I was. Void in the right spot. No. Outside of there. Okay, so now we're back on track, and that should then just be this dot on click equals value. And once more, we come down here, private t on click, which is what the event handler we said on there, well, on the template was, and that's just going to on click this private. Why you make it private? Oh no, private's fine. It's coming from the template. Okay, so now we are good to go. Let's return, close that, return to our radio group component. Go back up here to our imports, and what I want to import from RxJS operators is filter, and I also want tap. So now let's go back down here. We're setting up a radio button. All we have to do is here is say instance dot, and we want on click, and that's going to be equal to this dot on click, which doesn't exist yet, but it does now. So private on click. Rid of my little red squiggly there. So let's come down here. So of course on click we're getting the radio button. I'm tired of typing. Tired of typing, then I mess up. Whatever. Let's just type it. So it's going to be an XE radio component with t value. It's coming into us, and what we want to do then is to search through all the radio buttons that we have already registered. You know, unselect some, select the others. You know, that kind of thing. So let's do from, and we'll do it on the dot radios, and we'll do dot form. Dang it. And here we do pipe. Okay, so to make our lives easier, what we'll do just to start off with is use map to take this. So this is the component reference. What we want is to work with the instance here. So now we have that. We have this. Is there any way? So escape does not remove it. Must be a button to press to get rid of that. And now I've got it again. Get out of my face. All right. Why are you off? Oh, I'm having issues here. So we'll use tap. So we want a side effect here, and the side effect is that we're going to adjust the checked property, and the way that we're going to do that is to say whether or not the current instance that we're looking at, if that's equal to the radio button that we have passed in. Maybe we'll just ignore the fact that this thing is taking over my face. And then from there on, we want a comma. No, we have a comma. So a filter, take that. What we want to have pass through here is just to have the X that is equal to the radio button that's being passed in. Because then when we come down here, we can go into subscribe. And subscribe, and we can just say, let's put it all over here. I even need these. This dot value equals x dot value. So then, hopefully, let's go ahead and save that. Cross our fingers here, so we have our radio buttons in here. If I click on the label 1's radio button, I'm hoping that radio over here, the value, and it does, picks up. So now the next test and final, if I click label 2, it deselects the label 1 and gives us value 2. So now we have the behavior that we are expecting for our radio buttons and radio button group. What we do in the next video, haven't quite decided yet, but we'll see then. So I'll talk to you later. Thank you for taking the time to watch our video. I know that your time is valuable. If you liked the video, please subscribe to our channel and click the thumbs up button, as well as share the video with your friends. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please leave them in the comments section below. And once again, thank you, and I will talk to you in the next video.